Savelle-Rocklin has joined us, and I am so grateful you are here, Dr. Nina. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you're on a limited time frame, so I'm going to introduce you very quickly, and I'm going to let you move forward with us.
I actually have an hour, so I have more time than I thought. So
that's awesome.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Well,
I mean, not that I expect to be here for an hour, but don't feel like you have to rush.
Yeah. I just know you've got things to do and you've got a plane to catch. So, okay, so and if you're not familiar with Dr. Nina, please go out on social media and on Instagram. Dr. Nina is a psychoanalyst, and she is just an amazing individual. She wrote The Binge Cure. I absolutely love. I follow you on right behind us here. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to let Dr. Nina go ahead and introduce herself, and I'm gonna let you take it away because I'm just so excited to listen in on what you have to say today. All right. Thank you so much, Dr.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody. So I am Dr. Nina. I am indeed a psychoanalyst, and I help people liberate themselves from emotional eating, take back control of their lives, and feel good in their bodies, all without dieting, thinking about food at all, spending a moment in the gym, or counting a single macro. The point is, it is not what you are eating, it is what is eating at you that is the problem. And so it's all about why power, not willpower. When you figure out why you are turning to food, there's always a reason, which may be out of your conscious awareness. There's always a reason. When you figure out what that is, what that root issue is, then you can deal with it directly. And guess what? Liberation means you don't have to think about this every day. You don't have to wake up every day and meal plan and think you're going to be good and all of that. You're going to naturally, organically become an intuitive eater, but you cannot do that until after you look at why you are eating emotionally and find new ways of identifying that why, processing what's going on with you, feeling your feelings, which nobody tells us how to do. We're just not supposed to have our feelings. But there's a way to express feelings and then respond to ourselves differently. When we do that, we give ourselves comfort words instead of comfort food, and everything changes. So, it's not logical, it's psychological, right? We know what to do, but there's a reason we're not doing it.
Absolutely.
So, as I understood, I was going to talk about the critic.
That's correct. Yes, we're going to talk about stop the inner critic, that negative self-talk that we talk about in our head. We're always in our head. We're always criticizing ourselves. We think we're doing great, and then we do something we think we shouldn't have done. So I would love for you to tap on that negative self-talk that we tell ourselves. How can we take the why and make this into a positive? So if you could assist us with that today, we're ready to listen in.
Okay, well, first, there's identifying your inner critic, because we get so used to speaking to ourselves in a way that is harsh. We think it is often that we're motivating ourselves. No, we're not motivating ourselves. We're being mean to ourselves. And then we're often using food to comfort ourselves or to escape our own mean voice. So how do you recognize your inner critic when that's just the way you talk to yourself? Well, the answer is in how you speak to yourself. One of my patients recently, she said specifically the pronouns you use. We're all about pronouns in our culture right now. This is a different way of thinking about pronouns. So one of my patients recently said, she every day she gets up in the morning, she looks in the mirror and she says to her reflection, "You're disgusting. You're disgusting." So I said to her, "How about you say that again, but say it as I'm disgusting." And she's like, she couldn't do it. And she said, "Oh, that sounds way too harsh." And that's exactly the point. Often when we talk to ourselves from the second person you voice, it's easier to be critical of yourself if you're speaking from a you voice. It's easier to say, "You're disgusting," or "How could you do that?" or "What's wrong with you?" So who's talking, first of all? Where did you learn that voice? Often it is the voice that was given to us. We were spoken to that way, often, not always, but often we're spoken to that way. Or someone else was spoken to that way, and we've internalized that voice. And now what was relational, someone saying to us, why can't you do better? What's wrong with you? Blah, 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 becomes the way we speak to ourselves. So the first thing that you can do is to identify that critic. If you ever say to yourself, nobody likes you, you're not good enough, you whatever, catch that and switch it to I. You will see that it is very hard to speak to yourself, as my patient found. It is very hard to speak to yourself cruelly in that I voice. So that's one thing. The other thing is absolutely, and you kind of referenced this a moment ago, speak to yourself as you would a friend. So first of all, think about this. Have you ever said of your friends, oh my gosh, I love my friend, but I would love her so much more if she lost weight? Or, I really like so-and-so, but she'd just be so much better if she would lose weight. We would never think of saying that, but we say it to ourselves all the time. If our friend was upset, if our friend was suffering and struggling, we don't say, oh my gosh, you're upset, you're sad, you're angry, you're frustrated, whatever. Look, I know just what to do. I got you. Let's go get some cake. Let's go get some ice cream. But why do we do that to ourselves? So first of all, think about that. When we talk about being a friend to ourselves, think about how we are with our friends, right? And then we would never say to our friend who was upset, what's wrong with you? If our friend said, oh my God, I ate the whole leftover pizza. Then I ate all my kids like leftover whatevers. What's my problem? What's wrong with me? I have no willpower. You would not say to your friend, yeah, what's wrong with you? You have no willpower. What is your problem, girl? There is something wrong.
Right.
So you would never say to your friend, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You ate the cake and you ate the pizza and you ate your kids' leftover, whatever. You'd say, hey, what was going on with you? It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's like something must have been bothering you. Were you like super hungry? Were you upset? What's going on? You'd be curious, not critical. To ourselves, we are critical, not curious. And here's how behavior works. Thoughts and feelings lead to emotions. Feelings, which are just reactions to situations or thoughts. Thoughts and beliefs lead to feelings, lead to behavior. So if you're only focused on behavior, that is like plucking a weed and thinking it will not grow back. You got to get to the root, right? And the roots are often underground, hidden. They're always underground, but the root feelings are hidden from us, out of our awareness. We're in the dark, but they affect us. One of those roots is our inner critic. And so really identifying what is this inner critic? Where did it come from, by the way? Because we have to look at where that comes from. And sometimes we have to do some healing of the past because our past is affecting our relationships in the present before we can change our behavior. So if you're thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with you or me, or you're saying some nasty stuff to yourself, you're going to feel terrible. And guess what? You're going to eat to comfort yourself, to distract yourself, to numb yourself, to silence that inner critic. Sometimes we turn to food just to escape our own mean girl voice. So that is why really identifying that inner critic is so important, and challenging it and figuring out where it came from so you can heal. Now, here's something else that is really important to keep in mind. One person came to me and she's like, Dr. Nina, I tried talking to myself and it didn't work. It did not work at all, not in the least. So I said, okay, well, how about you tell me what you said to yourself and how you said it? So this is what she said and how she said it. This is how she comforted herself, mind you. She said, it's okay. It's going to be all right. You're going to be fine. Is that comforting? Would you say that to a friend? What'd you say? It's okay. You're going to be all right. You're going to be fine. Like, no, never. But that's how she was talking to herself. Now, tone of voice is so important because you can say the same words. It's okay. It's going to be all right. You're going to be fine. The same words have such a different meaning to us. So it is not just the words we say, but it is how we say them, because the right words can feel like a verbal hug, right? The wrong words or the right words in the wrong tone don't help at all. So changing our relationship to our inner critic is one of the most important and profound things that we can do to change our relationship with food.
So true. That is so true. I mean, I didn't even stop and think about how we would talk about how we would speak to our friend. That's a great way right there. So speaking to myself, I really should, take a look at, because there's times, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. There's times that I fall. I definitely fail. It's a process, it's a journey, but I definitely have not taken an opportunity to speak to myself like a friend. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Do you fail? Do you fail? Because here's that another thing about that absolute thing. We treat every eating too much of whatever, binge episode, emotional eating or whatever as a failure. Then we feel like failures.
Sure.
Instead of, let me be curious, what can I learn about this? Why did I turn to that food? What was it doing? When it comes to emotional eating and binge eating, food is a solution to the problem. It is not the problem. It is always there is some purpose. It is a frenemy. It does something for us. Of course, it also hurts us. But back to the failing thing, I love this analogy of when babies learn to walk, right? When babies learn to walk, what happens? They take a step, they fall down. They take 2 steps, they fall down. But we don't say, oh my God, that baby fell down. That baby is never going to walk. It's all over for that baby. That baby is going to be crawling forever. That's absurd. But that's what we say to ourselves. I ate whatever. I'm never going to change. It's always going to be this way. This attitude towards ourselves is so destructive because then we feel bad. Oh my God, I'm never going to. It's always going to be awful. The future is grim. What's in the kitchen to make me feel better?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We do it all the time. We do it every single time. So I love that. Thank you so much for that analogy, because that was very good.
I just want to say, what do we say to babies? We say, it's okay. You got it. Like, get back up. You can do it. You can do it. You can learn from this. It's natural. It's all right. That's how we learn. How about we say that to ourselves? Okay, what can I learn from this? Let me get back up. Let me move forward. Let me take that next step.
Wow, absolutely. And it is what we do with babies, even young children who are, playing sports, we encourage them, we tell them it's okay, let's get back out there, let's do it again. But yet we cannot take that one little moment to tell our own self that. That's
yes, we must learn to be more encouraging of ourselves. So first, curious, why? If I'm heading to the kitchen or I'm eating something or I ate something or I ate the kitchen, instead of beating yourself up, which just makes you feel worse, which makes you eat again, hey, what was that about? I call myself a detective of the mind, right? Let's solve the mystery of why you're doing something you don't want to do, or why you're not doing something you want to do, like go to the gym or whatever. Why? And that's why my thing is about, why power, not willpower. Because when you figure out your why, you are more able to understand what it is you need to deal with. We cannot fight an invisible army. We just got beaten up. Right. But when we, and these are the army of ideas and things that are constantly beating us up. But when we make that army visible, we see what we are fighting, and then we can fight back.
When we figure out our why, what would you say to encourage someone that has figured out why they did what they did, why we went to that refrigerator, why we had that whole episode? What would you say to that individual to encourage them to not get all wrapped up in that defeat or failure thought? They figured it out, but you know what comes in behind that. There's going to be, now I'm upset, even though we figured out the why, it's going to happen. So what would you tell that person?
I would say the why is just the first step, right? The why is just that insight is just the first step. Insight is, oh, I see what the army is. Well, now you got to fight. So if someone says, well, I realized, I'm just thinking of an example. Thinking of an example of one of my very first group for women with eating disorders, binge eating disorder, and the whole time in the group we're talking about the underlying reasons, all the roots and all of this. And this one woman kept saying, no, I just like food too much. I'm just a food addict. I just like food too much. But if I could just lose this 20 pounds or whatever it was, then I'd be happy. The last day of the group, she says, I'm thinking that if I were not thinking about 20 pounds, and if I were not always on a diet, if this wasn't always on my mind, I might want to leave my husband. Then that's a really big, powerful why, because focusing on food kept her from realizing that. But let's just say you realize that you went to the kitchen and ate whatever because you were really upset at someone. Tell me the last thing that upset you. Or make something up.
I was, oh gosh. So I'll just
Yes,
say.
I do have the process, but let me go with you realize you were frustrated because you
I went to the kitchen and I ate a half a pizza because I was just upset and I was
upset
I was upset at a situation, yeah. And so
okay, but what feeling and Becky, I do have a solution for you. I'm going to get to it in a second. But so you're upset. What was the situation? What's not what was
stressed out. I was stressed out. I was dealing with some situations and with my office and things like that. It was a little disarray, and so I was just really upset with it.
Okay,
I got
you were
myself all
frustrated.
entangled. Yes.
Okay, so let's just say you realize, okay, I was frustrated, and now you've displaced frustration over the office situation to frustration over food. So what you then do is go, yay me! I realize that actually I'm frustrated with something maybe I can't control. And why am I frustrated? I'm frustrated because I'm making this up. Someone didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I'm frustrated because I don't have total agency over this situation. And now I'm behind. And that means what? So you express it. I feel frustrated because of this. You give voice to what is frustrating you. And then that is only the second part. The next, what you've got to do, and by the way, this is where people go wrong. They go, it's not that bad. It's a first world problem. It'll be okay. Like toxic positivity. And now you're dismissing yourself. Right. So first it's, oh, I'm frustrated. And then you express it because of this, and what it means, which is also the important part. Then you have to respond to yourself. Okay, of course I feel you. Validate, acknowledge, and reassure yourself. Of course, I'm frustrated. How else am I supposed to feel when so-and-so didn't do their thing? Now I can't do this, blah, 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 blah. It has all these ripple effects. And of course, I feel this way. How could I not? I have every right to feel this way. And so first, you really have to do that part. And then you could say, I've dealt with frustrating things in the past. I'm going to get through this. I have the resources. I have the capacity. I'm going to deal with it. But right now, it is really so yucky. And I'm going to get through it. But right now, yeah, it sucks. Right? That's what you do with it. Becky.
Thank you.
Let me let me give you an example. By the way, how much time do I have?
You're good. We've
Okay.
got about 30 minutes if you want to take it, but if not, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay. So Becky and everyone, let me tell you about someone who came in. I'm gonna get to your question, but I have a story to get me there because I think this story is important. This woman, Jenna, came to me and she said, "Hey, Dr. Nina, maybe some of your other people struggle with food issues. Maybe they're emotional eating." She's like, "I'm a food addict and I can prove it," knowing that I do not believe in food addiction. So I said, "Okay, Jenna," not her real name, "please prove it. I'm all ears." And she tells me that she was chilling out, watching TV, Netflix and chilling. Nothing was bothering her. Nothing was going on. Had a perfectly nice day. And all of a sudden, as she put it, Ben and Jerry's is calling her name. She's like, calling my name. I am addicted to Chunky Monkey. I said, well, wait, what were you watching before Ben and Jerry started calling your name? So it's Charmed, her favorite show. And since she was doing something that she enjoyed, there was no reason, or so she thought, that she would want to down a pint of ice cream. What was the episode about? Oh, it's when this demon comes down and breaks the bond between the sisters and they start fighting and it gets really nasty and ugly and contentious. And I say, knowing that Jenna has an issue with her sister, oh, sisters fighting, huh? And Jenna did one of these. She's like, oh, like, oh my gosh, because that's when she realized watching the show activated her own sister stuff. But before she was consciously aware that she was triggered, she went to ice cream for comfort and distraction. Ice cream was not the problem. Ice cream was the solution to the problem, which is her difficulty dealing with her feelings about her sister and their relationship. If she had been like, well, ice cream's calling me my name, let me take a bubble bath, let me brush my teeth, let me take the dog for a walk, nothing would have changed. Even right in her journal, nothing would have changed. She had to figure out, and now I'm getting to Becky's question, what was it that was out of her awareness that made her go to ice cream? So what do you do if you're not my personal patient or client and you don't have me to say, and what about that? And what about that? And well, I developed my food mood formula, which you can find in my book. But I'm going to tell you what it is. My book is so much more than the food mood formula, but this is part of how you crack the code to emotional eating. If you don't know why you are going to any particular food, the food you choose to eat can tell you your why. So because usually we have some go-to, right? Now, some people will say, well, I'll just eat anything in the kitchen that's available. Yeah, but what do you choose to eat first? But usually there's a go-to. And so whatever your go-to is, that can tell you a lot about what's eating at you. So anything smooth and creamy like ice cream, like Jenna, ice cream, smooth peanut butter, yogurt, whatever, that's a sign that you need comfort. And so you need to find new ways of comforting yourself without using food. Other foods are like cake, bread, pizza, pasta, anything that takes up space within us. Those are associated with loneliness, emptiness, filling a void of some kind. And so if those are your go-to, you've got to look at the holes in your soul, in your life, and find new ways to fill them so you will not be filling them symbolically with food. Crunchy, anything that makes us bite down hard, is associated with forms of anger. And women are always going, I'm not an angry person. Yeah, well, no, you're a person who's angry. And anger, by the way, includes frustration, irritation, annoyance, pissed off, rage, right? And so if that's your go-to, if you're always into pretzels and crackers and chips and all of that, look at what's pissing you off in your life, what's frustrating you, and find new ways to express it, which means expressing it with words, not necessarily to the person that's upsetting you, by the way. Let me be really clear on that. Sometimes, but not always, often not. And then if it's sweets, maybe you need more sweetness in your life, not the kind, not the kind that comes from sugar. So that is the food mood formula that can help you crack the code of emotional eating and figure out why, what's eating at you, what your why is, and then you focus on that.
That was phenomenal. Oh my gosh, Dr. Nina, you are absolutely phenomenal. I love that. That was awesome.
What makes you happy? What I like to give examples by by giving examples of people. I had another woman who said that sugar was her personal crack. Sugar was her personal crack. That is a direct quote. And it turned out like this woman would bake cookies with her child, and then she would make up some like, go get me something. Like she would make up some reason to get the kid out of the kitchen. So she would then be able to eat a bunch of cookie dough, or she would eat a bunch of cookie dough and then pretend she dropped it, or, the dog ate it, or whatever it was. Like she really felt addicted to sugar. And really what was happening was she was in a job she hated, in a marriage that was terrible. She wasn't fulfilled. She wasn't happy. She had no sweetness in her life. And when she changed her job, easier said than done, improved her marriage, easier said than done. Her cravings for sweets went away. And when she was sweet to herself, talk about your inner critic. When you're sweet to yourself, you don't need so much of that sweets on the outside. So think about what makes you happy, and think about how you can be sweeter to you. When you're sweet to yourself, you don't need so much of that sweets on the outside. So think about what makes you happy, and think about how you can be sweeter to you.
Chills. I've got goosebumps.
What was that about? I love the curiosity. And when we ask ourselves questions, our minds find the answer. And you just found the answer to ripping something apart. You're just pissed. Yeah, when we ask ourselves a question like, what's that about? And truly make it a question, our minds want to fill in the answer. And that's why when you're a detective and you're curious, you're going to find the answer. I will say that some people have also said to me, well, I asked myself the question, but here's how they asked it. Why am I doing this? Well, that's an accusation formed as a question. It's not really a question. But if you say, why am I doing this? What's this about? You're going to find the answer.
Yeah.
Food is the solution to the real problem, but you know what? It is a lot easier to focus on the food than it is to focus on what's eating at you. It's a lot easier to focus on, I will not eat such and such, than it is, oh, this is eating at me. This is really bothering me. But when you do this work, emotional gardening, if you will, when you dig out those roots, then you're done. And that's why I believe in liberation and not recovery, because recovery is every day you're like, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to think about this and that. No, liberation is I trust myself. I know I make good choices. I'm not in recovery. I'm liberated. I fought the war. I won. Now I wake up and think about my day, not my diet.
Okay, so I wanted to thank Dr. Nina for being here. I know her time is very precious. Guys, if you will take a look, Dr. Nina's book is sitting behind her there, and you can grab her book on Amazon. And you please go to Instagram and follow her. She's the binge eating expert, as I hope she has answered questions for everyone today. I just want to say how precious you are to me and how grateful I am that you took the time to be here today. It has been amazing. It's been definitely eye-opening. I have learned so much from you today, and I always do. Every time we're together, I learn something new from you, and I'm so happy and so grateful that you're so precious to me and give me your time. So
One thought, which is there is always hope. I've treated people who have struggled for 20, 30, 40, 50 years even, and they are liberated. So no matter how long you have struggled, it is never too late. You can always change. When you change direction on how you're resolving this, everything changes. So thanks for having me.
and Dr. Nina is on Instagram. Dr. Nina Savelle-Rocklin is her name. She is the binge eating expert, psychoanalyst, author of The Binge Cure, 7 Steps to Outsmart Emotional Eating. Dr. Nina said this, where is your self-care? Where is it that you are going to stop and take care of yourself? And that's what I want to invite everyone here today to really take a look at, is taking care of yourself, because it's vitally important. And until I realized that I really was important, that I stopped talking to myself in such a negative way and really embrace me and love me, I was not going to get out of this cycle. And Dr. Nina even reassured us in her conversation that if you love on you, and if you provide yourself sweetness and tenderness and love and open yourself up, surrender to being that vulnerable person, let people in, let people know, let us help, we're here, that's when you're going to see the whole entire world change for you. So start talking out loud, speaking to yourself like you are your best friend. And
Yes.
I wish everyone well today. So that is a wrap for today. Take care, everyone.